Hey there, Oklahoma insurance agents. Are you ready to unleash your potential and embrace pathways to new success? Well, if you are, mark your calendars because May 7th through the 8th, 2024 is going to be a game changer for all of us. Yes, that's right. We are all meeting at the Oklahoma City Convention Center for the Big IOK annual conference. Now, this is where the best in our industry come together to explore and to learn and to grow. And yes, I am going to be back too. I am going to be diving into the world of AI, and we are going to talk about digital doppelgangers. Yes, that's right. I am going to show you my digital doppelganger who helps me get all this stuff done. He's an AI-powered bot and he's amazing. I'm also hosting a breakout session where we are going to build our own digital doppelgangers in just 35 minutes. It is going to be so much fun. And this is your chance to harness the power of digital innovation like never before. But that's not it. We have an incredible lineup, including Kelly McDonald, Steve Anderson, and Dustin Wamskins. Yeah, each is going to bring their unique insights to enrich your experience and your business. So, are you ready to transform your approach and skyrocket your success this year? Well, this is your moment. Join us for 2 exhilarating days packed with knowledge and networking and next level strategies. And don't just take my word for it. Register now and see for yourself how this conference can redefine your entire professional journey. Remember, it's May 7th through the 8th, 2024 in Oklahoma City. Let's make it a date to remember. I'll see you there.
Well, welcome to another episode of AgencyWISE, your gateway to success. We're excited that you've joined us today, and I hope you'll continue to plan to join us on the second Thursday at 10:30 Central Time for a thoughtfully assembled wealth of insights, expert knowledge, and resources designed to enable and empower your agency to overcome the challenges many of you have shared with us and how to grow yourself and your organization to the next level. I'm Sarah Bradshaw Ray, your AgencyWISE host. In honor of Women's History Month this month, we have with us today the remarkable Lea Ann, a true trailblazer in the insurance industry who has not only weathered the storms, but thrived in the unpredictable. Lea Ann's the former Keystone Insurers Group Chief Operating and Chief Strategy Officer, as well as a seasoned veteran and a revered female leader in our industry. Welcome, Lea Ann. We are honored that you were able to fit us into your new retired, or perhaps more accurately described, your rewired chapter of life.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I felt so blessed to have the invitation, and I'm looking forward to talking about how we help others on their journey.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know if you remember this, but I very distinctly remember the day that I first approached you about the idea of being our Women's History Month speaker and sharing your story. And you told me that day that your path wasn't a traditional one. So, as we get started, please share a little bit about your professional journey with us.
Sure. I was for a very long time the only executive at Keystone that had not grown up in the insurance industry. In my first 20 years of employment, I worked in human resources. I did compensation studies, benefits, purchasing, and I worked as a human resources consultant as well. After 20 years as a human resources professional, primarily in the healthcare, but primarily in the banking industry, I asked to make a move into bank operations to learn that side of the house, to learn how to manage directly rather than consulting with others on how to manage. And I made that switch and worked in bank operations for a regional bank running their lockbox. I eventually ended up at Citigroup running their retail lockbox operation, and then moved into a corporate customer service job. And in that job, my clients were primarily insurance companies in the lockbox industry. So I came into insurance that way. I had purchased health insurance in my HR role. And then after a bout with cancer, I decided I would go back to my hometown area and look for employment. So I came home, I worked a severance, came home and tried to figure out what I was going to do in the next part of my career. I had a really good friend who was an Allstate agent, and he asked if I wanted to sell insurance for him while I was figuring it out. And I said, sure. So for the next year, I sold insurance for Allstate. Mm-hmm. I saw an ad, which I know today, newspaper ad, that doesn't happen anymore, in paper, and it asked for HR experience, operations experience, and an insurance license. And I thought, if they don't call me for this, I certainly don't know what I'm doing in representing myself. And that's how I ended up at Keystone Insurers Group as their operations manager. So it was a very non-traditional path, and the ad asked for a very non-traditional experience, and fortunately I had it.
Very cool. What a fascinating path. You know, isn't it crazy how the insurance industry has a way of grabbing you and keeping you?
Exactly.
I think it's because our industry does some pretty awesome things. So we have a way of finding and keeping some pretty awesome folks. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Exciting
Well,
journey.
today, the title of our episode is Thriving in the Unpredictable, a lesson in acting as if, which I know will resonate with our audience today, both men and women alike. So I can't wait for you to share with us what this acting as if mindset looks like and how it's influenced your approach to leadership. So please tell me more.
Okay. Well, Sarah, I've talked to a lot of people, over the years and worked with them from a mentoring standpoint. And what I normally say is act as if. Don't look at your little job and think that's the job that you should be thinking about, or that's the realm of responsibility that you have. When you work for an organization, you work for the whole organization. Act as if you have responsibility for the whole organization. Really sort out what the issues are in that organization. How do you communicate across hierarchy or across lines, or with people who are sales and your operations, or your operations, back and forth? How do you get into the mindset of what's important to those people? What's important to the organization as a whole, not just your little job, but how your job fits into that whole thing. Because in the end, responsibility lies with every person that works within the organization. So I've always told people to act as if you're the CEO or the president. What would you want to see be different? How could you contribute to the whole organization, regardless of what your job is? How do you solve problems for the organization and really start to think creatively about how you can be a very important part of the organization, regardless of your job?
Yeah.
I think that's where act as if comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It's an important mindset shift.
Yeah.
Not, I've got to move this from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
It's about how do I impact the organization as a whole? How do I help the organization to progress forward, to be profitable, and to be an exciting place to work? How can I impact that?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love this. I love how even when you weren't in charge yet, you were still wired to look at the situations as if you were in charge of making the decisions, the outcome, and how all that would play out. That idea of ownership, which doesn't necessarily come pre-wired in everyone, but definitely a great lesson and a takeaway for all of us, especially the emerging leaders who are with us today.
Right.
Well, you undoubtedly have had to navigate unpredictable challenges throughout your career and thrived. So, what challenges stand out and how did you navigate those?
I think several situations come to mind for me, Sarah. One is that in the human resources role, when I started out, I was 22. And I was dealing with people that were heading major parts of the organization that I worked for. And they were significantly older, significantly more experienced. And so acting as if, there was something that I could contribute, right? It's not just a matter of my job was to help them manage their group. My job was to help them be profitable. And so I had to look at it and say, okay, how can I contribute even though I'm young, I'm not as experienced, but I'm a smart person. I should be able to figure out a way in which I can contribute. So that human resources experience really brought for me a different way of looking at how can I contribute. And then when I began working for Keystone, at one point, they asked me, although I had been doing operations up until that point, would I, in fact, take over field operations and the external state VPs and start working with them? So I had both internal operations and Keystone's state VPs. And that was a lesson in mindsets, a lesson in what people make assumptions about how the others work, right? Inside always thinks the outside's just out partying. Outside thinks the inside.
Playing golf.
Yeah, it's just there to drive them crazy. You're just trying to work through it. So teaching people what was really happening in both of those roles, because it's work. It's work regardless of where you're sitting. You don't get to just hang out and have the organization progress. On top of that, there were areas that I wasn't responsible for, but had such a significant impact on field that I went to other members of the executive team and said, look, this person doesn't work for me. Contracts didn't work for me. Loss claims management didn't work for me. Carrier relations didn't work for me. And I went to them and said, do you mind? Do you mind if I include them? Do you mind if they come to all my meetings? Do you mind if they get involved? Because for me, progressing through the organization requires cross-fertilization, for lack of a better term, all those different disciplines. And it made a significant difference in us being able to to progress, in order for us to change how we did business, in order for us to be more efficient, more effective, and meet the needs of our client, the independent agent, and really look at it and say, okay, we're doing this, but that's making it hard on people over here. How can we help each other and our agents to be more successful by streamlining this or making it easier or touching them in another way? So, just trying to dig in, have tenacity, be flexible, because nothing is going to work out exactly the way you had it planned. So I think those are important parts of acting as if.
Absolutely. Golly. So many great takeaways here. I hope that I am not the only one taking notes out there because, oh my goodness, what a lesson in bringing together that tapestry of the other people that, played into what you were accomplishing, recognizing those different perspectives and bringing lots of singles into, into a group. Fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fabulous. Okay, so I want to go a little deeper in the acting as if mindset. Share with us a specific instance where embracing this mindset for you made a significant impact on your professional journey.
Well, as I said to you, I started at Keystone, again, no insurance experience in terms of the actual industry, right? I had sold insurance for a little while, but I certainly hadn't run an agency. I understood insurance as a buyer from a healthcare perspective, but didn't understand the organization Keystone, right? For me. And so initially I was the operations manager. I was not on our executive team. And I worked through the challenge of, first of all, gaining credibility with that team.
Yeah.
I think that it's incredibly important to show that you bring real product to the table. And I don't mean product necessarily as a product that you sell, but what did you accomplish? How have you affected the strategic plan? How have you moved the organization forward? How has change been made? If your strategic plan said, let's change this, let's do this, were you part of that accomplishment? And I continue to work with them one-on-one, building credibility, doing what I needed to do for my real, my job, obviously, but also to truly move strategic plan forward for the organization, truly make sure that my part of it was on track, dealing with the obstacles that are there. Just a tough, it is a day-to-day, I think, tenacity about moving the ball forward. It is not, I think people oftentimes, I've mentored people recently and everything is about, well, where do you think my next job will be? What do you think will be the next opportunity for me? Well, you know what? Everything's not a home run. Everything's not a big splash. If you are consistently performing and moving the organization forward and meeting your goals and moving the strategic plan for the organization, that's a lot. That one big splash doesn't have nearly the impact.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, educating myself about what were the goals of the organization, educating myself on the organization, looking to educate myself about how people function, how do decisions get made, how do you get something accomplished, and then doing the hard work every day doing the hard work, which, is not flashy. It's not always fun. It's not always exciting, but boy, when you hit it, then you're like, wow.
Yeah.
It's, so I think it's all about really trying to impact in the way that you can, and also following the rest of the organization if that's, it's not the direction that they want it to go.
Yeah.
Then you have to play your part and you've got to get the work done.
Absolutely. When so much is not in your control.
Correct.
You still you can still impact where you have, the human imprint, and very, very true. Very
Absolutely.
True. I know someone needed to hear that today. It's incredible how a mindset can lead to transformative moments. I know you've mentioned mentoring recently, and I'm certain throughout your career. So what advice do you offer regarding how to adopt this mindset? Who does one look to? How not to overstep? What not to do, especially for women, which is our focus this month?
This was the hardest question you asked me. And I talked to some folks about this because I'm not sure I'm the very best person to be asking about maybe the overstep, or especially for women, because I'm not a people pleaser. I look at it and I think, and please don't misunderstand, I am respectful of people. I am respectful of the job that they do and the value that they bring.
Yeah.
I, though, am not great at sugarcoating, what needs to be said.
I totally get you. So
yeah.
So keep
So I
going.
looked at this and I thought, the first responsibility I think an individual has, a woman, a man, whoever, is that you're being paid a salary for a responsibility within an organization.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, it is, I don't know if the word is quite sacred, but it is ultimately the most important thing that you have to do is to do your job responsibly and to the best of your ability.
Yep.
And that includes communicating in a way that is respectful and gets things done. But I think for me, it also is an opportunity to, sometimes you have to say the real thing, right? And I think as women, sometimes we get very nervous about being liked. We want to make sure we're liked.
Yep.
And that has not been a deal breaker for me in my career. I would so much rather, and I've told people this repeatedly, be respected than liked.
Absolutely.
So, and I want to be respectful. I've also, when I went out to some folks, when you sent me these questions, Sarah, and said, since I've mentored you, can you kind of talk to me a little bit about what was the most impactful thing that I said to you about it? And one of the people, several of them, talked to me about, I often find that people wait for permission. They wait for permission to make themselves known. They wait for permission to do the right thing. They're like, well, that's not exactly my job, so I'm not sure if I should be interfering.
Yeah.
And so I often tell people to quit waiting for permission.
Yeah.
You've got a responsibility to the organization. How do you help the organization be better? And but I think as women, sometimes we wait, right? We wait and we think, well, they'll see us. Well, no, they won't. They won't if you don't take the step, if you don't if you keep asking, well, what would you like me to do? No, well, what can I do? What can I do? And look at it yourself, and then go to your manager and say, I'd like to work on this. I think it's a problem. I'd like to solve it. I'd like to involve these people. Are you okay? I mean, managers spend their whole day fixing problems. They want the help.
Absolutely.
So I think that's an important thing. So this was a tough one for me, Sarah, because I really do think, that it's a matter, again, of tenacity, flexibility, really staying the course, not asking for permission, but asking for opportunity, and know what that opportunity is you're asking for.
Absolutely.
And see it through to the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I am one of the stats that drives me, and I may have shared this with you when we last visited, is 70% of men will go for an opportunity or a job or an advancement that they don't have experience, education, or perhaps even just raw talent for, with the idea, I'll figure it out. I'm just going to go for it. Can you imagine what the percentage is of women?
Right, because women explain to you that they don't have that experience.
Yeah.
They don't have that knowledge.
The stat is 30% of women will go for that position that they're not experienced in. And so that's kind of my personal mission is to make sure, like, when I ask that question publicly, the response is usually 5-10%, 15 is the highest, but thankfully it's 30. But my goal is to grow that 30%, whether it's seeing that little, crack in the door where they see the opportunity and they feel confident that they can fill the gap, that they too, have the ability to figure it out, to learn, like you mentioned, to learn more about what needs to be done, or the organization, or whatever it is. So thank you for that resonating point, not waiting for permission, not waiting to be seen or recognized as, for an opportunity that's ahead. See the little crack in the door and have the guts, if you will, that you, and of course, like you said earlier, bring the goods. You got to deliver. But I love that. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, in one of our early email volleys about today's session, you mentioned that sometimes a non-linear nature of our careers create some of those unexpected opportunities. Can you share a moment when you embraced that opportunity, when you saw that little crack in the door that you didn't initially recognize as such, but how that played out for you?
I think there are probably two. One was when I was working in human resources. I went to San Francisco, of all places, to do an employee handbook training, and they needed an operations manager for that location. And while I was there, I thought, you know what? I could do this, and I could live in this beautiful city and have this whole different opportunity, right? And not really knowing a lot about lockbox operations at that very instant. Okay. But I was supporting that particular group within the organization. So I knew something, but I didn't know all of it. And I went back and spoke to the gentleman who was running the operation and said, I'm interested in this. And he said, Lea Ann, really? You're interested in this? I mean, it's really not, it's slightly lower in the organization than where you are. So are you sure? And I said, well, I think I can make up the salary on the, San Francisco side. It's very expensive to live there. And yes, I want to see if I can do what I help people do. I want to do it myself this time. And he said, okay, go for it. So totally different, experience to be consulting with somebody and then to have the responsibility for it.
Yeah.
To have the budget, to have the profit numbers, to have the, you name it, right? And great learning experience, just great. And if I hadn't jumped that fence, I would have never had such a remarkable experience in such a beautiful place too, right? Just a great opportunity. And then, as I said to you before too, even just that all led me, when I saw that ad for Keystone, I thought, really? Operations experience, HR experience, an insurance license? How many people have all those? It's not a linear,
Right.
it's just not. And so it all led me to that moment when you really think about it, right? That moment. And so you got to kind of jump out of, where you're sitting, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be you go from a junior to this, to a senior,
Right.
to this, to a that. I mean, really? You just want a title change? I don't, that doesn't sound fun to me. But to have those experiences, to just take a risk, but knowing that there will be people who will teach you things. Sometimes they will tell you things and they'll tell you them like you are really stupid, and you just have to swallow it because they've had 20 years of experience with it and you don't know what you're talking about, right? You have to take a minute and learn it, right? You learn it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's great to walk into something where you just have such an opportunity to learn.
Absolutely.
It's such an opportunity to learn. And as you said, the women don't give themselves credit for their experience. And that experience doesn't have to be linear. Women manage households. They manage lives of multiple people. They manage a job and a home and children sometimes, and you name it, right? That's a lot of management. But they don't give themselves credit for it. Yeah, it's a lot of
master jugglers.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't give themselves credit.
So. Well, and I remember in some of our back and forth, you're making the comment, it's a matter of being open to seeing a different view of yourself, which has stuck with me. And as a matter of fact, I think that's a great postable quote right here. Lea Ann said to me, it's a matter of being, again, I'm going to say it because I think it is fabulous, being open to seeing a different view of yourself. I think that is so empowering for all of us, but especially for women, like you said, not necessarily the title or whatever that goes with it, but and even if it includes a little bunny trail,
that's right,
a gorgeous location like San Fran, doing something completely different. Fabulous. That's a great pearl of wisdom and a nugget that we all need to take away. Okay, I have you thought 2 questions ago was a hardball, but I've got one for you now. So I'm just giving you warning. You've mentioned the word confident, which is a word that we sometimes as women kind of have to dance around a little bit cautiously. How have you navigated this careful balance of asserting yourself confidently in such a way that it hasn't gone to an extreme where sometimes we get branded with some not so awesome words as women?
Okay. Well, I can't guarantee you that I've never been branded with a not so awesome word.
Nor have I.
Out with that. But I think it's not spending your time on that, but spending your time on that you're not that person. That's kind of more on the other person's side. But I think, as I said to you before, I try very hard to be respectful of others. And I also, particularly with people who have worked for me, I have had significant conversations with them about the fact that sometimes I'm going to look abrupt.
Mm.
Sometimes I'm going to look like I'm not interested in your opinion. I want you to understand that at this moment, I'm probably trying to get from here to there, and I have to do it very quickly. Okay.
Yeah.
But what that does not mean is that I don't want your input.
Mm.
It also means, it doesn't mean that I can't take the feedback. I can take, hey, I don't really appreciate, whatever it may be, right? Because I'm busy. I'm thinking, I'm moving from this to that. I'm trying to get this done. I'm trying to get that done. And maybe I wasn't as open looking, or, I've got something else going on, right?
Yeah.
And so a couple things, I've given people that worked with me always permission to tell me if they think I've kind of hurt their feelings, or, I might have come across in a way that seems a little more, a little past confident for them, right? But I do believe that speaking with confidence has worked well for me. I think, but it doesn't, I think part of this is, and I guess with the acting as if as well as the confidence, this isn't faking it. I have spent considerable time educating myself throughout my entire career. And being educated by people who know a lot more than I do about something, maybe technically. And so my confidence comes from that, from I know what I'm talking about when I talk to you about this. So I don't want to come across as arrogant, or whatever that case may be, whatever word people are using. But I do want you to understand that I didn't come to this table without knowing what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And so I think logic, confidence, understanding your subject matter, educating yourself, and not being afraid that people are going to call you those things. Because in reality, sometimes when people call you those things, it's because they weren't prepared.
Yeah.
They weren't ready. And you made them sometimes look a little foolish. And they're not really happy with that. But that isn't my problem. My problem is that I was trying to get this done, right? And I did my work, and I have my facts, and I know what I'm talking about, and I'm happy to engage in a logical conversation about any issue, and I am happy to, give if I'm wrong. That's okay. But I will come to the table confident because I've lined up my facts. I know what I'm talking about, and I'll present it as though I know what I'm talking about. You can go ahead, because I'm expecting that you will be equally prepared. And then let's engage. And for those people who are that prepared, Sarah, I don't get the impression that they're going to call me anything other than prepared, confident. Understand my voice, right?
And I don't doubt that you are not also equally comfortable with admitting that you're not the smartest person in the room.
Absolutely.
And bringing others to the table with complementary expertise and background and perspective, which is another key, part of what I know has made you the leader that you are.
Well, and asking a million questions. I mean, seriously, the only way you can get to confident is if you don't know your subject matter, you're going to have to ask a lot of questions.
Absolutely.
And count on people that actually know. And sometimes just say, I have no idea what you just said. You're going to have to break it down for me. I don't understand the vocabulary. We all have these, just break it down for me. And yes, and I guess to your point, Sarah, confidence also includes, yes, absolutely. I don't know everything,
Yeah.
but I am confident in the fact that I can be educated.
Mm-hmm.
And so please go ahead, educate me. And I don't mind if I feel a little stupid while you're doing it. You know, I
Yeah.
need to understand it. Please show me the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because our goal is to move the organization forward. You know, get the work done, do the thing. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, our time together has been chocked with tons of valuable lessons for all of our personal and professional development. As we get ready to wrap up, what's the one thing that you want our crew to walk away with today, especially those who are facing uncertainties in their careers when acting as if is so critically important to not just not just surviving, but really thriving in this crazy market that we're in and just life in general? What would you share with us?
I think the most important thing is to know a couple small things, Sarah. I don't know if I can stick with just one.
That's okay. You can you have license.
One is, I think that everybody needs to understand that they have impact, regardless of your title, regardless of where you are in the organization at this moment. You're an important part of making an organization work.
Yeah.
The second thing I think that's really important in acting as if is being able to really see people. As you and I just talked about, really listening, really understanding what's happening here. What's the front story? What's the back story? What's going on here? You have to spend time on that. You have to understand how your organization operates, and that means both in the way that it's presented and the way things happen. How are decisions made? How do you move the work forward? Particularly if you're not in the position to drive it. How do you manage across? How do you manage up? How are you presenting your case? How are you making sure the organization has its best self presenting to its client, right?
Yeah.
How are you doing that? And I think that people need to understand that their work is important.
Yeah.
They are important to it. And I don't care what job you have. It is so essential that all parts of an organization work. So CEO, great. Yes, absolutely, you have to work. Yeah. And if you're somebody processing claims in the back room, absolutely, it has to work. Absolutely. And that's what I think people sometimes miss too. They think I'm just doing this. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're serving a client. You're an important person. And, that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And so I just say in acting as if, I think first people need to step into how important they really are in this world and in their organization. And then how do they display that? And how do they educate others in both the organization and about the work that they themselves are going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. It all matters.
It does.
It does. It does. And we need to recognize all the way back at the beginning. It might be your tiny little job, but it is a cog in the gear of the whole.
It's vital to the organization.
Yeah, and recognizing and finding purpose where you are is, regardless, mailroom to CEO.
Correct.
Absolutely. Oh, goodness.
Absolutely.
What truly wise words. Thank you. I knew our time together was going to be powerful, but wow. I know so many in the Keystone family consider you such an empowering and inspirational leader, and now we all know why. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and your journey with us today.
Sarah, I so appreciate the invitation and just love spending some time with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
It has truly been my pleasure, and just wish you the very best in your new chapter of life, and just all that will bring you. So thank you again. Wow.
You are most welcome. Thanks so much for the time.
Absolutely. Well, guess what? This wraps up another episode of AgencyWISE. So, thank you for joining us on this empowering journey in celebration of Women's History Month. And again, thank you to our guest today, Lea Ann, for being with us. Remember, as Lea Ann shared with us, in the face of uncertainty, we can all thrive in the unpredictable and always act as if we've got this. So remember, if you'd like to share this with staff or others, you'll find it on the Big Eye Oklahoma YouTube channel by the close of the day. We'd love to see you next in April when our guest will be Carrie Wallace with Agency Focus, where we'll be talking about the importance, the value of your agency, and lots of places where this information can be used. Like today, the future episodes of AgencyWISE are strategically curated treasure troves of insights, expert knowledge, and resources to enable and empower your agency to grow to the next level of unprecedented success. As we conclude this enlightening episode of AgencyWISE, remember the journey to agency success is ongoing. So stay inspired, implement these valuable insights, and join us next month for another great session. So with that, until next time, keep thriving AgencyWISE.